Ish? Yo, Ish!
Shape. Beautiful shape.
If I can just move his foot. Do androids dream of electric sheep? Many have asked this question for decades, ever since a certain adventurer, smuggler, a hero per se, saved the world again. Have you ever sat on a bench, laid on the grass, stood in the shower as the water pounds off your back for a few moments too long? Stared out the window? With a pretty safe amount of certainty, I can say that you have, and most likely you have at least once in the past week. Did you ever let your mind wander? I bet you did. So how was the dream? We, as humans, want to dream more than anything. It is the basis of our escapism as a species. It is the fertile ground where ideas and creativity come to light, where problems are solved, and where humanity grows. Each night we have the privilege, most of us anyways, the privilege to escape this world to a different one, to one where anything is possible, where anything is real, where you are the one. On this episode of the Chronicles of Geek, we escape through our dreams. Welcome to the Chronicles of Geek. I want to thank you for joining us again as we explore escapism and how we humans use it to try and figure out a safe path in this world of ours. Our dreams are one of the major ways that we do this. Heck, the study of it has become its own field and for some, an obsession. But as I have said before with other items, a subject for a different series. Dreams are the basis of our escape. They are the end results, the pinnacle that we wish to reach. Examples from history show that when humans take a moment and figure things out, basically apply the pi principle from Men in Black 3, whether for a moment or even weeks, great change will come from it. Even the President of the United States of America has a designated retreat devoted to escapism. Camp David has provided moments of solitude for presidents that have literally changed the course of history. I know without a doubt that at least sometime, once, we know it's more, but we will go with once, that in the past year you have dreamed. What was it? A vacation? A trip through space? Magical powers? Or perhaps just an extra piece of cake?
Human, did you see this menu that came today? It's a bit blurry, but it came out of that old dusty thing under the pile of old clothes you said you need to replace. You should order me some lunch.
The what? From the what? What are you talking about? Oh, you mean this that came out of the old fax machine. Let's see. This isn't a menu. Let me see what this is about. Geek News Now is pleased to announce another retailer that are passing on the savings to you, our fans. Visit Ripped Apparel and use the promo code GNN10 to get 10% off all your clothing needs. Limited exceptions do apply.
Fine, get me a hat then. You need shirts.
Well, at 10% off, now's the time.
Human, is that thing new? I haven't seen it before.
The fax machine? New? Well, not quite. Welcome to the Chronicles of Geek Flashback News. On May 27th, 1843, Scottish inventor Alexander Bain received British patent 9745 for his electric printing telegraph. It is a chemical-mechanical device that was first able to successfully reproduce a graphic in laboratory experiments in 1846. The pantograph was invented by the Italian physicist Giovanni Caselli. He introduced the first commercial telefax service between Paris and Lyon in 1865, some 11 years before the invention of the telephone. On May 19, 1924, scientists of the AT&T Corporation, by a new process of transmitting pictures by electricity, sent 15 actual photographs by telephone wire from Cleveland to New York City. Looking at those crazy Canucks up north, it was reported just 2 years ago, yes, in 2018, that a majority of Canadian doctors still use fax machines as their primary mode of communication to other doctors, citing security and technology concerns. This has been your Geek Flashback News on the Chronicles of Geek. And don't forget to subscribe below to keep up on all your fan-fueled content. This week's Geek Gripe of the Week has nothing to do with the theme of dreams, other than the dream of maybe one day there will be a fix. Batteries. Whatever happened to that little strip thing that told you whether they were good or not? Okay, you've all been sitting there ready to do something, play a game, watch TV, whatever. You pick up the remote, the controller, and it doesn't work. Not even a single light. No problem, you say. The batteries are in the battery drawer, so off you go. And you grab 2 or 4 and put them in. And it doesn't work. Is it all the batteries that are dead? Just 1? 2? How many? Now, way back in the day, not that long ago, there was a tiny little invention on the side of the batteries that told you how much juice was left in them. This somewhere along the line has disappeared, and quite frankly, I want it back. It is definitely a peccadillo of mine to have a box of batteries and not know which ones are good and which ones are dead. It seriously cuts into the escapism. This week's Gripe of the Week comes from metallicdice.com. Sometimes you may need a little help making a choice or just want to be a bit more random. So if you need dice, go here and use the promo code GNN for 10% off all your gaming needs.
Pullman, I see another book on your desk. Are you reading another story? Will it relate to the theme this week?
Yes-ish. I gotta find that attitude adjustment button on him. Anyways, this week's story is definitely about dream and escapism. Let me jump right in. Chapter 10. The Mission Street Hall of Justice building, onto the roof of which the hovercar descended, jutted up in a series of Baroque ornamented spires, complicated and modern. The handsome structure struck Rick Deckard as attractive, except for one aspect. He had never seen it before. The police hovercar landed, and a few minutes later he found himself being booked. 304, Officer Cram said to the sergeant at the high desk, and 612.4, and let's see, representing himself to be a peace officer. 406.7, the desk sergeant said, filling out the forms. He wrote leisurely in a slightly bored manner. Routine business, his posture inspection declared nothing of importance. Over here, Officer Cram said to Rick, leading him to a small white table at which a technician operated familiar equipment. For your cephalic pattern, Cram said. Identity purposes. Rick said, I know. In the old days, when he had been a harness bull himself, he had brought many suspects to a table like this. Like this. But not this particular table. His cephalic pattern taken, he found himself being led off to an equally familiar room. Reflexively, he began assembling his valuables for transfer. It makes no sense, he said to himself. Who are these people? If this place has always existed, why didn't we know about it? And why don't they know about us? 2 parallel police agencies, he said to himself. Ours and this one, but never coming into contact, as far as I know, until now. Or maybe they have, he thought. Maybe this isn't the first time. Hard to believe, he thought, that this wouldn't have happened long ago. If this really is a police apparatus here, if it is what it asserts itself to be.
Wait, why did that sound familiar?
Bonus points-ish. And for those of you who made the connection that this indeed is the story that Ridley Scott epic with Decker, well, the force is really strong with this one with Harrison Ford. 1982's Blade Runner, to many uber geeks like myself, is the pinnacle of escapism through dreams. Ridley's creation is, of course, the duology struggle of existence between the hero and the villain. And depending on our point of view, figuring out which is which is not as easy as one would think. The improvised, yes, fully improvised monologue of the replicant Roy Batty, a masterpiece of work by actor Rutger Hauer, showcases the fact that he and his fellow replicants, yes, all of them, are not the villains, and that they, all through implanted memories, have dreams as well. If you think back to the opening moment of the show today, I opened using the question, do androids dream of electric sheep? This, of course, is the title of the short story by Philip K. Dick that was the inspiration for Blade Runner. And yes, I will definitely state right now that Decker is a replicant. It's the whole point of the story, and yes, the clues are there throughout the first movie. Now, for those of you that say even Harrison Ford says, just remember that Ford is known for replying to questions such as that as the character would reply, not the actor. If you think about it, that's commitment of the highest degree. But back to the story. Electric sheep and dreams. Even androids need to dream. If they didn't, they would basically short circuit and wreak havoc on the humans that were around them. A quote from the book says, "Life which we can no longer distinguish. Life carefully buried up to his forehead in the carcass of a dead world." This is why we dream, why we escape. When we forget to dream, when we forget to escape a little, we can no longer distinguish living from mere existing. But by dreaming, we can halt the cycle and give us hope. Hope of epic proportions, the kind that creates movies. Most critics, now anyways, will agree that Blade Runner is a masterpiece of science fiction that showcases the pitfalls that humanity currently and has yet to face as it deals with the inevitable reckoning of not only the rights of humans, all humans, but our creations as well. As we have seen, for many of us, we dream about being able to escape. But we also dream of being able to escape into that magical box we call the screen. Whether it is movies or the big screen or television shows on the smaller one, many of us dream about becoming a star, or even being able to do it just once. For today's guest, Amanda Lisman from Victoria, BC, this dream has become true. Amanda has been able to achieve one of the dreams that many of us simple geeks have: to escape and to get a few coins while doing it.
Wait, is there someone else going to be on the show other than you? Well, it's about time.
Yes, Ish, I'm glad you caught up. So without any further ado, Amanda Lisman, welcome to the Chronicles of Geek.
Thank you very much.
So the reason why the idea to bring you on here with the episode relating to dreams was your recent episode on the Twilight Zone season 2, episode 2, Downtime. In this, you play a character who is about to emerge from a dream, I believe. You had a few seconds on there. Tell us about the role and tell us what your motivation for it all was.
Well, what's so amazing about when you're playing those little parts is that you audition for something without really understanding what the context is. So the casting director through your agent sends you sides. It was kind of an ambiguous scene of dialogue between me and another man, and then this sort of idea of like an orb in the sky and going kind of catatonic. And then got the role, still don't know. Then get called into a meeting with the director, J.D. Dillard, this incredibly talented and incredibly enthusiastic, passionate man, and myself and my counterpart who played Man One, and another woman were brought in to rehearse and to discuss the concept of the show. And we hadn't been given the script yet. So we were just talked talked through the concept and what he wanted from us on the day of shooting. And it was such a privilege because, we're ultimately not doing much as actors in this little piece. We're just a tiny piece of the puzzle in a much bigger story. But to be included in that way and to get let into the process was so neat. Finally, we did get the script. And so then Steve Annan, who played the man, and I kind of came up with a little backstory of sort of who we were and how we were maybe at the beginning of falling in love in this dream world.
Going along with that, for those who don't know, the episode basically is you sign up for a service, you spend your night in a dream world, living whatever dream you want. I believe the main character is a hotel manager, getting the dream job, blah, 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 blah. And for those in Victoria, you will know the hotel.
Yes.
So when you're told your dream, you mentioned you were supposed to be falling in love. Were you going in there as a character that was overwhelmed, wanting to just get away? Like, okay, you want to fall in love. Why?
Yeah, I guess that, I mean, it's like sort of the little secret that you have that you come up with. But I thought, oh, well, what if I were a woman that was trapped in a situation that wasn't very happy? She's in a loveless marriage. I don't know, maybe it's just sort of just playing into stereotypes, but isn't able to have the sort of freedom to express herself um, and to find fulfillment in those ways. So I thought, well, what if, she's in this world and gets to inhabit this body and meet people that she wouldn't normally meet in this small town that she lives in. And so the idea for us was that we were quite new to each other and that we were just sort of embarking on this new journey.
Getting back to Amanda the person, you've been doing acting for quite a while. Like, what was your first real, what you consider your real role?
My first real role, oh gosh, besides like Snowflake #1 in the grade 3 Christmas pageant, which was memorable, I got invited to do a show at Langham Court Theatre here in Victoria, and Langham is um, I think one of the oldest amateur theater houses in the Pacific Northwest. And I got invited to do a show with them, and that was my first time really acting on a play, like getting the script and going through rehearsals right up to opening night and presenting it to an audience. And that was really thrilling. I learned a lot, and most importantly, I met actors who were trained, who had professional experience, and were able to guide me into this career, for better or worse, that I embarked on. But it was always a dream of mine. Sort of speaking of dreams, it was always the daydream. It was always the fantasy when I was a kid and a teenager to become an actor. And I didn't admit it to many people because I always thought it was a bit silly or trivial, or that, you just want to be a movie star and go to Hollywood and win an Academy Award. And it wasn't until I did the show at Langham and met actors here in Canada that I realized that there was a career path that was realistic too, that there was a career that one could have that wasn't just becoming Julia Roberts.
You've done a lot of stage productions. What was your first experience with the recorded medium, like TV or movies?
Right. I think the first professional gig I got was in Psych, which is I think now on Netflix. It is a cable TV show, and I got to play the victim in one of the episodes. It always starts with sort of the teaser where the person dies, and then the episode is based on solving the crime. So I got tossed out a window, but I got to work with John Landis, director John Landis, who, pretty well-known guy, and started to learn the trade that way. But also my brother and we made videos all the time when we were kids, like just geeky kids into the audiovisual club, and we got the VHS camcorder out and we're always filming things.
The audiovisual club.
Right.
A lot of great things come from the AV club. People don't understand that a lot of folks got their start in a situation just like that.
Yeah, those teachers that hand you the camera and teach you like simple editing and like the basics of film production. It's sends us off in all sorts of directions.
You've mentioned that you like being on stage.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think there's nothing like performing for a live audience. And I'm really feeling that right now as we embark on this long pandemic course where we're not allowed to perform live. just the idea of being in the room with a group of people in real time and sharing that magic, and that we all sort of suspend disbelief and kind of invest in the same dream for a period of time. That we have this shared reality for a moment, and there's something really magical about that.
For me, with the way that I watch movies and stuff, when I go into theatrical production, the limited stage and everything is like, okay, we really got to put all the science aside. We got to put everything. Yeah, that is now a apartment block and the inside of a bakery. Of course it is. But if you can do it, you can really get into the moment and really get into the dream. And you
Yeah.
can really feel the energy. Do you feel that, like the energy from the audience?
Yeah, it's vital. And it's part of the reason that when we go into theater production, we have previews before we have opening night officially. And it's about incorporating the final element of the production in before we officially open. And that final element is the audience. I mean, it's just absolutely essential. And the energy they bring and the investment they have in the story and the imagination they bring to it, because it does require the audience to work for it. That's part of the magic that is really what it's all about.
Nice. Okay. Now, I know a little bit about your behind the scenes part of life,
Yeah.
which is what this segment is. It's geeks like us, and that kind of thing. Now, for those of you who are going like, what is Damon talking about here? Amanda, without giving too much into the what you know where we're going with this, what do you do in the daytime?
Yeah. Um, it depends on the year. I've been really fortunate to go through long periods where I'm purely an actor. And I lived in Toronto for a long time and pursued acting full time there. But since moving back to Victoria to be closer to family and just have maybe a more peaceful lifestyle, I teach. I work at a few different places teaching voice and speech and appreciation of theater. Um, and I'm really interested in sharing the craft and sharing the passion for theater with a variety of different people here.
Cool. Now, one of the local theater companies you work with are called the Deviants. Now, did I say that right?
Yeah, yes, the Deviants.
Okay, so tell us about the
Yeah.
the Deviants and some of the production. Now, one of the reasons I want to get into this is this
Yeah.
group of individuals during this pandemic, they were or are, but a live theater troupe
Yes.
that couldn't do live theater, and
Yeah.
then they've done two online shows now.
That's right. We've done two so far, and we're working on a third. So the Deviants came together under the umbrella of a wonderful organization called Lifetime Networks. It's all about fostering relationships between people with developmental disabilities. And I got brought on with sort of my theater skills training to bring just more experience with theater to these fantastic artists that write and perform their material. Yeah, so we do all sorts of improvisation and exploration to create these shows and then perform them for a live audience. But yeah, then the last year we've turned to live streaming and video production and doing incredible special effects and using all sorts of software to create art in a different way.
So you've been able to keep going. We've talked about it already. The energy. How is the energy different from doing that from being in front of of a live audience?
I think it's hard. I think it's hard on all of us. I think we all came to this group to have that live experience and that relationship with the audience, that exchange of energy. And you get a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment when it's happening in real time. And we just love applause too. Like who doesn't like a standing ovation? And so when you film things in, oh, we're going to do 20 minutes of filming today, and then we're going to edit it together, and then a few months later we have a show and we put it up on YouTube, you don't get that same sense of accomplishment or some real-time feedback. And I think for many of the participants and myself included, that that relationship with others is just so important. And going through the experience, like the adrenaline rush, and are we going to make it? And it kind of feels like you're going to battle. You don't get that when you just put it on YouTube. But
Anybody who I back in high school, I was, of course, drama geek, although I was on the behind the scenes side.
Yeah.
Or I was Munchkin number 8 hiding there with all the stuff I needed to move for the next scene.
No,
Um,
no small parts.
you don't understand unless you've been part of it what it's actually like to be there. I mean, if you've done sports, if you know that adrenaline rush is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, upcoming year,
Yeah.
I'm presuming you got some projects in on the go. Is there
Mhm.
anything you can tell us about without getting yourself into trouble?
In the film and TV world, it's sort of anyone's guess. Like, we're still very lucky to have a lot of film production happening in BC, and so I'm hoping for some more opportunities. But I think the next thing I can talk about is I have an appearance on Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist on January 19th, I believe. Yeah, so that I get play a real estate agent in that episode and help a couple of the characters on a great comedic scene. So excited to see that coming out. That was a real privilege to be a part of, and that was shot in Vancouver in the fall. A lot of dreaming.
Laundry. No, okay, good. Let's use that. Let's circle right back around.
Yeah.
If you could do one role, doesn't matter if you've already done it. It's the one you want to fix. The one you saw somebody do. One role. What would it be in 15 seconds?
Oh gosh, I got a huge break when I was really young. I went to the Stratford Shakespeare Festival and I got to play Roxanne in Cyrano de Bergerac opposite Colin Feore. Huge, huge break. But I was so young and relatively inexperienced that I think I would just love to do it again. Like, knowing what I know now, to go through that experience, would be a dream come true.
Wonderful. What's that, Ish?
You never asked the important question. How many coins does she get?
Next time. We'll make sure we ask that next time. All right. That wraps up this segment of the Chronicles of Geek here with Amanda Lisbon. We'd like to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
You humans are a very complex species. You think for a creature that can design massive things like great walls, pyramids, and tunnels, what have you, you think of a better way to come up with the idea than just dreams.
It's not as inefficient as some may think. Studies have shown that just 30 minutes of dreaming time a day can hold many benefits for us humans. From the simple ability to recharge and get a grasp on reality, if given the opportunity, that moment can blossom into the sparks of ideas. The dreams that we allow ourselves to have can influence in ways that we can't imagine the very first time we think of it. Take Amanda Lisbon, for example. Sometime when she was a kid, she had that first notion that she wanted to be on stage. From there, her life choices were guided by that dream. Going to the moon was someone's dream. This program, this network, heck, even the platform that you are listening to us on was a dream at one point or another. In fact, everything we have in this world, regardless of how old or how commonplace, at some point in time in humanity, was just a dream. Now, personally, my process of dreaming involves staring out windows, listening to really loud music, and falling into the rabbit hole of Star Wars: The Old Republic. Every now and then, I get to bounce out of it with the greatest idea I ever had. Like this show. To illustrate the point as we close, we all know that a certain musical device changed the world when it was released back in 2001. What you may not know is that geek lore states that a certain Steve Jobs watched a Star Trek episode where Commander Data listened to every single piece of music composed by humanity at once. Jobs presented a dream for his engineers, based on the dream of a writer for a sci-fi show. And that's how we got the iPod. Dreams become reality far easier than any of us imagine. And for those of us geeks who have mastered the art of escapism through dreams, they can ultimately change the world. Until next time, I'm Damon Roth, here escaping with you on the Chronicles of Geek, located on the Geek News Now network. Now don't forget to subscribe below, and always, my friends, stay safe, stay brave, and most of all, stay geeky.